All right, welcome back to today's episode of Israel Prophecy here on Israel National Radio, Root Sheva, and the show is syndicated as the Messiah Hour on YouTube. Go to YouTube and type in Messiah Hour with Ari Louis and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is free to do so. And a reminder that I'm on JApp. JApp is a Jewish application which has lectures from historians as well as sharing from very big rabbis and episodes of this program. You can find JApp by going to their website, www.j-app.me, or by downloading JApp from Google Play Stores. Continue the conversation if Judaism is sexist or not is Rabbi David Katz. Rabbi Katz, let's talk about the stories of King Solomon and King David, because these are very pious kings. We say Mashiach comes from King David. Talk about their roles with the female gender.
So this goes to show you don't get any points for being a scholar, because no one in history understood Bina, understanding. Again, Bina translated as understanding, or female wisdom, than those two guys. Right? Masters. They are the master. Their Torah, Psalms, and Proverbs, and Song of Songs, and Ecclesiastes, that is your guidebook to that universe. And you see, those guys stumbled maybe more than anybody that ever lived. Right? Solomon's wives, like Wilt Chamberlain-esque, right, took him to idolatrous labels by God himself. And King David with Bathsheba, do you get more famous than the whole story with Bathsheba and Uriah? David puts her husband on the front lines, obviously is killed, and he takes Bathsheba. He did he sin? You'll say no, yes. The Talmud says, I think that he didn't, and you're mistaken if he did, but King David himself says he did. Bottom line is, it was a big botch. Right? It didn't go down the way it was supposed to go down. And, those guys are the benchmark. That no matter how much I think I must have quoted this 5 times today. God infamously says, my thoughts are not your thoughts. So whatever thoughts you have of a woman, and you understand, and you're there in academics, by definition, my thoughts are not your thoughts. Maybe just even thinking off the cuff, maybe that's the whole point, right? How do you get somebody else? Women's thoughts are definitely not men's thoughts, right? She's not thinking like, hey, after the game, I'm going to go get a Budweiser. How you doing? I was just thinking that, Right? She's not thinking that, right? I always like to say, when I was like a bucker, right? Everyone's got the girl that they think is like their cool friend, right? Oh yeah, Amy, yeah, she's awesome. She gets guys, she's totally cool. She's like, hey, yeah, guys, I get you. You guys are cool. We're watching the game. And she's like, hey, do you have a bathroom? And he'll say, yeah, it's over there, And, this guy hasn't cleaned his toilet in 5 years, right? And he actually thinks that she's going to go in there and be like, hey, this is just like spick and span. This is great. She thinks you're a monkey.
Right.
Right? And we think it's like, it's cool. I don't even have to clean up. She doesn't care. And then, when this guy marries her, a lot of times people marry their best friend in that way, right? Wow, do you find out the hard way. Right? It's not cool. It's not funny. And you are a slob. Clean your bathroom. Get dressed. Get the stain out of your shirt. Clean your car. Show up on time. Why are you late? What? You think I'm going to cook dinner for you? Why didn't you cook dinner? Did you bring the food home from the store? Are you going to nurse the baby? Are you going to clean the toys on the floor? Or what time are you going to bed? You have to get up early tomorrow. You're going to be tired. You always get tired. Like, what? You were the one that didn't care about the toilet seat being up. Right? So, they have this, my thoughts are not your thoughts. Period. When you realize that people think differently than you, that even your good friend Ari Louis, right, he thinks differently than David Katz. So don't assume everyone thinks like you, right? Because that's where every relationship breaks down. Yeah, there are times we think alike, but you're never going to see it exactly the same. And you always have to have that pathway of communication. Once you get lazy and you say, well, you get what I'm saying, right, bro, right, partner? And the answer is no, I don't. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, I don't want to embarrass you, and I don't want to be rude, and I don't want to be in your face, so I'll just say, yeah, I get what you're saying. That's understanding. That's Bina. That's what that is. So women are, God creates them so fundamentally different, right? You don't get credit for hey, you know what I mean, right? The answer is going to be, no, I don't. Right? And it's not din, it's not in your face. It's just, can we talk and get along and trade points of view and tell you how my day was? Men just they don't realize, and that's why Moses was beat over the head by God with that sentence. My thoughts are not your thoughts, and God still says, "Hey, but you're still a tzaddik, but don't think you understand what I'm all about."
Okay, so you kind of bring the point of men are from Mars, women from Venus type of thing. Does Judaism believe in that?
Look, in terms of marketing the book, I mean, I haven't read the book. I don't know. I didn't read the book. But yeah, I mean, yeah. Bina is a different world than understanding, or Bina understanding is different than Chachma wisdom. It's just different worlds. It really is different worlds. And there's a joke in Shidduchim, right? You got the Hasidic guy. He's in yeshiva, never saw a woman, never touched a woman, doesn't know what a woman is, and he's in yeshiva, and they're getting ready for the kid to go out on his first date, right? Like the real Hasidic Welt, 30 seconds you're engaged, right?
Right.
And they're like, okay, Moishi. So like when you sit down, like you see the woman, the girl, right? You say shalom, how are you? And she says back, I'm fine. How are you? And then you offer her tea or coffee. You say, would you like coffee? They drink coffee too. They're like us. So like you get into this dialogue, and after a couple of weeks, he's built up. He's like, yeah, okay, this is great. Shidduchim, I'm gonna get married. 30 seconds, I'm engaged. It's awesome. I can already plan the vart to the Chaim and then Tanayim. It's awesome, right? So he gets all dressed up. He's got his best hat on, his bekisha, polished shoes. He's getting ready to go to the best neighborhood in Bnei Brak. He's got yichus. Nothing could be, further from disaster here. He's awesome. He walks in, knocks on the door. Says, my name is Moshe Streimel. How you doing? She says, the Fegi Bracha is in that room. Go ahead. So he opens the door. Next thing you know, he's passed out cold on the floor. Passed out.
He fainted.
Right out the bed, right? And he wakes up in the emergency room. They say, Moshe Streimel, what happened? He says, oh, you don't know what happened. I opened the door, and there was mamish a girl in there. That's the idea, is different worlds. It's not some kind of scholastic issue. It really is. You have to learn. And there's two kinds of human beings in this world, male and female, and they're not the same. It's like, I kid around about Israel. There's no such thing as a Jew. There's Cohen Levi Israel Ger, right? And we just kind of have like a pact that we agree to get along in the terms of a common religion. And in certain aspects, it's true, right? Like the Beis Hamikdash, right? So there's two kinds of humans, and we have a contract to agree to get along for the sake of reproduction and hopefully having a good relationship. But the intentions of the Torah and creation of mankind is not just, fruitful and multiply. I often kid, a lot of times shidduchim are made just for reproduction. The guy's getting old, her biological clock is ticking, and they get together, and hey, it'll just work out, right? Whereas there's another type of marriage, it's called love. You know what that? It's called actually loving the person and getting along. Now Judaism is a bit funny because, we have laws and rituals. You don't touch. You don't hook up before you get married, right? Everyone's separate until the wedding night, and then even the family purity laws. So it's a bit difficult to get to know your partner before marriage. But again, it's called hard work. And if you really believe in love, you really believe in a soulmate, and you don't want to just reproduce to have like 6 months of kind of release before you realize the mistake you made. And there's a lot of horror stories because women are just objects. That's how they're viewed. And I think it's got to the point where men are just guys that fix stuff, or whatever it is. It's a degraded society, and it's sad because marriage is the Holy of Holies. It is the temple. It is the thing we strive for. It is Gan Eden. Period.
So, do you think that the horror stories are stem? They stem from this concept that women are lower than men. I mean, what exactly? What would
but don't view it as like, hey, she's a piece of meat. Go at her. Right? That's not the attitude. In yeshivas, they don't teach that. What they teach is atrophy. They teach don't think, don't talk, right? Now, and again, I'm not faulting here because how are you supposed to know that? You're a bacher living in yeshiva. You don't talk to girls. You don't touch girls. You don't go out. How are you supposed to know, right? It's very hard to convey this point. But the point is I hate to say it in a crude, crass way, but you have to override the sexual drive, right? You have to get to the point where it's not about intercourse and relations and fruitful multiply, right? You have to find the person in the soul. You have to marry the person. Anything less than that, you're asking for disaster, because you're going to get in a position where you can't communicate anymore. Then you get in your habitual behavior, right? I tell her she's lazy. He tells me that I'm this, and then I go to my corner. He goes to his corner, and 3 days from now we'll talk and we'll hang out, and then it all goes again. It's the point where you're just numb. Now, this is not everybody, and some marriages are great and some are worse, right? But I will tell you, I don't think hardly anybody, if anybody, is maximizing their potential in marriage. Now, the Talmud in Sanhedrin says this is a divinely decreed fact. It says, Tam Bia, let's call it the reason for intercourse, has been removed from Jewish marriage since the destruction of the temple. Because of man being worried about bills and this and that. We don't have the peace of mind to engage people in this world on a soul level. Right? When she's worried about the bills and this and that, and he doesn't care about burping the baby and bringing home, formula, okay? It just creates tension. Because, hey, she'll do it. Right? She'll do it. I'm hungry. She'll do it. They say a man's job is like, I'm an accountant. What do? She says, I'm a chef, a chauffeur, I'm a babysitter, I'm an accountant, I'm a house cleaner, I'm a home proprietor, I work my job in daycare, I'm a writer, I'm an author, I'm a mathematician, this is true. And I can tell you from experience, right? My wife passed on, those that know, those that don't know now, they do know, and I raised my 2 kids, right? And I've become sensitized to women's plight and the women's rule of the home. Now, not perfect at it, but, when I'm out, I see the bozo guy, right? I do. When he has no clue what, a stroller is, and how to take care of the kids. And you see the women, bogged down, and I get it, because I'm there with my kids too, right? And I know what it is to run a home. And the point is I'm in a very unique place where I see everyone's missing that mark of true man and true woman. And I'm beginning to see the repair, right? He doesn't know that he's able to burp the baby. He thinks, I'll break the kid's neck if I do it. No, you're not breaking the neck. Just burp the baby, right? He doesn't know that when you see a dirty pile of laundry, you put it in the washing machine. Just put it in there, right? When it's done, you put it in the dryer and you change the filter first so you don't break the machine. Right? That's Bina. That's understanding. Right? And men are missing that. I mean, women women think that men know this, but we just, don't care. If men knew, they would care. They would really care. We don't even know it exists. Like, wow, you think that deep? Like, yeah, she does. And so there's just a miscommunication. If you're to maximize that, it's tremendous. If you can maximize the gifts of intellect and soul and compatibility in ways you don't even know. Men, I give a class, men are tool men, right? Tools. He's got his wrench, his pliers, and his white Peter shirt, and he's got this, and he's got that, and my cup for 15 years, I never washed it once, and it doesn't smell yet. Hey. But the funny thing is, she's the same way. For her thing is, it's called, I wash the towel after every usage, because it's really great to have a fresh towel after every shower. He says, what? You're wasting the precious towel. She says, don't you realize we can buy a new one, right? Towels are all over the place. We just go out and buy towels. So they're missing the most practical points. It's endless. I mean, this is my personal favorite thing to talk about, right? Really, Bina and wisdom interacting, what they're missing, and the greatness of both. If they would just know how to communicate and recognize the other one, that's Gan Eden. It truly is a tree of life for those that can see it and bring it out and thrive in that setting.
All right, let's talk about something that is taboo, the concept of women learning Gemara. Obviously, rabbis will just say flat out it's a sewer, especially certain parts of the Gemara. Some say all that. Well, what exactly is the Jewish women's role in learning Gemara?
Well, as the World of the Ger book is on sale for $28 at gergear.com. Personal plug here.
Right.
But if I can bring my own work in, I can. You know?
Sure, go ahead, no problem.
But, one of the guys that is in my field of work, Rabbi Scott Ginsburg of Chabad, right? He came out with a new thing in my work is like the fourth Torah revolution that you should teach Torah to the non-Jews. Okay, hi, enter plug here. But the point is what was the third Torah revolution, right? And say there's a fourth. What was the third? In fact, what were the first? What are all four for that sake? The first one was writing the oral Torah down. The second one was earning wages for Torah. And the fourth one we said was Torah to the non-Jews. The third one that we left out was teaching or women learning Gemara. Right? That was the third Torah revolution. I think the Lubavitcher Rebbe he quotes as the one that was Machadish this. Really sanctified the concept. I think today no one cares. I never heard anybody complaining about women learning Torah. Not really. I mean, the guys will say, my wife doesn't get it, blah, 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 blah. But really, at the end of the day, I never heard a valid complaint. Like, how dare she learn the Talmud? I remember when I was a bacher, I went to a good friend of mine, Rabbi Matthew Glazerson. You may have seen him with the Torah codes and the Gematria books. A very close friend of mine. And as a young bacher, I went to his house. His wife, Rebbetzin Glazerson, she's fantastic. These are like total cerebral people. And they ignored me the entire meal, which I thought was great. Because she was more in the books than he was. And when I brought up a question, she would not stop until she found the answer in the book. And I think that was very impressionable on me as a young bacher. I saw, if you do it right in holiness and the right kavanah, this is fantastic. And they're great people. 15 years later, they're both very special in my life. But then, you get into the women at the kotel, whatever they call that, right? I think that's dafka. You're doing that dafka to push buttons. Now you're getting into areas like tefillin and talis and yarmulkes. I'm not down with it. That's just my point of view. I might be wrong. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. In your private, your home, you'll say, but wait a minute. Rashi's daughters wore tefillin. Right? I don't know. I've never been in marriage or whatever with a woman that wore tefillin, yarmulke, tzitzis, talis, and the whole zachen. If you find it works for you, hey, let me know. Do it. Be great. Making a whole storm at the kotel and noise. Well, I'm only saying no because I have not researched it. So intellectually honest, I would say no from lack of research. But I don't even know. If they're doing it and it's beseder, be sneeze. Be sneeze. That never goes away. Being sneeze about things, modesty.
All right, Rabbi, we appreciate your time here on Is It Prophecy here on IsraelNationalRadio.com. Of course, you can check out the Rabbi's book, The World of the Ger. You can go to gergear.com. You can also go to solmazal.com. And, Rabbi, we appreciate your thoughts today on the issue if Judaism is sexist. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me back, as always.
Indeed. All right, folks, last 2 minutes of the program, we're going to have a special treat. Yesterday we brought on Rabbi Moshe Kleinman and Moshe of Alexander to talk about the news, so we're going to do that for the final minutes of this program, and we have him on the line right now. Rabbi Kleinman, are you there?
Hello?
Hey, how you doing, Rabbi? Again, this is Rabbi Moshe Kleinman and Moshe of Alexander here on Is It Prophecy on Israel National Radio. Now, I understand there was a weird story of some porn star in Gaza, and she got in a little bit of a mess. Can you tell us about it?
What?
Yeah, apparently that's what happened.
What?
Yeah, it's a pretty gross story, but I want to report it as the news. I hope it's okay.
Never in my life have I heard a story like that.
What? Well, it doesn't mean it didn't happen, though.
I've heard mice in my day out of Gaza. If you knew what Gaza was, you would not be reporting a story like that. Was that you that were hired the story? Was it brought down and the sources?
I didn't make up the story and report on it.
I thought you were the reporter. I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. let's talk about something else. This seems to have really gotten under your skin and bothered. Let's talk about something else. Now, I understand there's some story of a mummifying animal situation. This was reported in the New York Times. An idea to, I guess, bridge struggles between love and the West Bank. Do you know anything about that?
All right. There's other stories from Gaza, right? There's all these trade stories from Gaza. Who can keep up with Gaza?
Yeah, I guess it's a trade place.
Stories. There's all kinds of Sachen and Grace, mice, and kind of mention. I don't know what's going on in Gaza, but you talk about mummifying. The mummifying. What I would surmise that radical Islam. I'm surmising. You know, you already shocked the system with Gaza. But if we're gonna go into Gaza, I mean, I'm not going into Gaza. I'm not some kind of IDF commando. But yeah, you hear what I'm saying. But it sounds like they're trying to duplicate the mice with Yaakov and Yosef, right, with their mummification. So I would guess that the Mahdi, we call him the Mahdi, and the Zman of Tuma in Tovavo, that he would come back some kind of Egyptian mummy. I think that's pshat. I saw that. I saw that.
Okay. I really don't know what you're talking about, but the last piece of news before we end the program, now we reported yesterday about a situation with a zoo going on in Gaza, and I understand there's an update. Can you tell us about it?
That was the mummified. That was the mummified.
Oh, sorry. What was the third story?
I was all mummified. The mummifying lions and tigers and bears. Oh my! You know, from the meisim, the chinuch, the zman chinuch, the lions and tigers and bears. Oh my! They mummified lions and tigers and bears. Oh my! And Mamish was like Yaakov Avinu in the Sof Beishas. Yaakov and Yosef were mummified. They brought them out to be buried in Eretz Yisrael. And I think it's a ploy. It's a Illuminati ploy to bring the Mahdi into Eretz Yisrael in the Bechinas Kates Yamin, Gog v'Magog. But we have the Nevuahs that tell us they're going to be buried in the Safoin.
All right, well said. Couldn't really say that better myself. Again, that was Rabbi Moshe Kleinman and Moshe Alexander. That's the end of this program. I want to thank our guests, Rabbi David Katz of SoMazal.com, Rabbi Moshe Kleinman, reporter on the news for Moshe Alexander. And, of course, you can find this program on YouTube. Go to YouTube, type in Messiah Hour with Ari Louis, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is free to do so. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, anyone you'd like me to interview in the future, or any topics you would like me to discuss, email me at messiahhour@gmail.com, and of course you can find me on JApp, www.j-app.me, and you can download that website on Google Play stores. Thank you everyone for listening. This is It Prophecy here on IsraelNationalRadio.com.